One Punch Man is a new anime that's sort of taking everyone by storm. It's a recent sort of parody of American superheroes and shonen manga. The reason why I want to do a review of this anime is because there's still a lot of my friends that still haven't seen it. It's basically just a 12-episode anime based off the manga by One. The concept is that there's a main character. His name is Saitama. He's just an ordinary guy who wants to be a hero for fun, but he has one problem. He's too strong. So whenever he fights a monster or threat of the week, one punch is all it takes him for defeat the person. He ends up not feeling anything, like no fear, no joy, no exhilaration of defeat, because he's simply too strong. So I mean, the concept of this series would be kind of dumb, like a 12-year-old write it, but the writer actually infuses a lot of interest for Saitama. Even though he is the strongest, he's not recognized as a great hero. In fact, no one knows who he is. And there's a lot of world building that happens throughout the series, and it's definitely a lot of fun. So the first segment of the first episode pretty much sets up what Saitama and the concept of the anime is all about. He's simply too strong. Then we find out his origin story. And they go on to introduce a sidekick character immediately in the second episode, as well as the first sort of arc versus the House of Evolution. And it also sort of encapsulates what the series is going to be like. Characters will shout, you know, what their attacks, you know, like super claw, slash, things like that. And then Saitama will punch them and they'll turn into guts. And, you know, even though it's kind of gory, but it's sort of hilarious gory, not gross gory. But it's also a parody of, like, you know, American superheroes. And then later, Saitama realizes that no one knows who he is because he hasn't registered with the Hero Association, which is sort of like the Justice League of that universe. The problem is that they're very hypocritical and very bureaucratic. So you have to work your way up through a ranking system. And even though he's really strong, he's not very bright. So Saitama only gets to Class C, and his new apprentice, Genos, a cyborg, immediately gets shafted to... not shafted, it's raised to level S, which is like the highest out of all the classes. So they'll have different arcs throughout the season 1. There's the House of Evolution arc, and then there's a Deep Sea King. And what I really liked is that they are different, a little formulaic with the threats of the week, you know, but the character development is still king for this series. So you get to find facets of all Saitama's character as well as all these other characters that they introduce through, you know, by having them go through all these different trials. They don't just have enemies show up and he punches them. They up the suspense factor by having Saitama not always there and having other characters fight, which is a really interesting way to write the series. Even though Saitama is super strong, he's not very bright, he's not very ambitious, he's not egotistical. So how does someone like that become the world's greatest hero when he doesn't have his eye set on that? And, you know, there's all these other heroes trying to shove him down or try to make him quit. So it's really interesting to see how the biggest antagonist of Saitama is the Hero Association and their sort of bureaucratic way versus like a monster that shows up. It eventually ends with, I read the manga first obviously, but the manga has like more short stories. So if you have already seen the series, definitely check out the manga for extra little stories and tidbits in there. So the season winds down to a Space Conquerors arc where aliens show up and there's like a 3 to 4 episode brawl. Really great sense of humor in this. Is really different from what you're usually used to. If you like superhero shows or movies, you definitely need to check out One Punch Man.